Welcome to part 6 of our Central Western New South Wales trip. In this episode, Rick and I visit the Western Plains Zoo and continue our adventure back through Narromine, Trangie and Nevertire along the Mitchell Highway to Nyngan, where we made our camp at the Bogan River Upper Weir. We then continued along the Barrier Highway to Cobar. Our visit to the Taronga Western Plains Zoo on the Newell Highway just outside of Dubbo started at a cool 3.6 degrees, but it did turn into a beautiful day. We were able to drive our car around the zoo and stop at points along the way. Rick car hopped while I walked taking photos. The first exhibit for the day was the African wild dogs, the largest wild canine in Africa. Around the corner from the African wild dogs were the meerkats and a male black rhino. Meerkats are a small mongoose found in southern Africa and are highly social, forming packs of 2 to 30 individuals. Black rhinos are the smaller of the two African rhino species. The black rhino has a hooked upper lip and their horns which grow continually, with the front horn being longer than the rear. The plains zebra are commonly found through Central and Southern Africa. Each zebra has a unique pattern of stripes, as individual as a human's fingerprint. The giraffe is a large hoofed mammal. Their long legs and large hooves make their kick accurate, powerful and deadly. The bongo is a large, mostly nocturnal, forest-dwelling antelope with a striking reddish-brown coat, black and white markings, white-yellow stripes and long, slightly spiralled horns. Just a short walk further along the circuit was the eland. Common eland are spiral-horned antelopes. The white rhino has a distinctive square blunt lip and only has hair on their ears, tail and eyelashes. Further along the circuit was the cheetah, who was quite happily resting right in the middle of the enclosure, making it difficult to see clearly. Rick and I continued along the path to the Savannah Lands, a wide open grass space with a scattering of trees and structures for the various animals. Along the edge of the compound was a waterhole. From the observation platform we could see guinea fowl, ostrich, white rhino, black buck, zebra, eland, giraffes and white rhinos. It was amazing to see all of the animals spread out across the paddock. From the Savannah Lands we made our way back past the Asian elephants' night dwellings to where we could view them in their enclosures. The Asian elephant is the largest living land animal on the Asian continent. In the wild they inhabit dry to wet forest and grassland habitats. We continued along the path to the hippopotamus compound, but I was unable to see any from where I was. But Rick had a good view of them when he was car hopping. We did venture back to the enclosure on our second trip around the circuit. Hippos spend their day in the water to keep cool and to prevent their 3.5 centimetre thick skin from drying out and cracking. Bongos are the largest and most colourful of the forest antelope and are critically endangered. With prominent red chest colours and long spiral horns, the elusive bongo is the most colourful antelope in the forests of Africa. Our next encounter with the exhibits was the Sumatran tiger, one of the smallest and darkest tigers, though from where I was standing he was huge. The size of his paws would take up a small dinner plate. The stripes of the Sumatran tiger are closer together, and it has darker orange fur than other tigers to allow it to blend into its tropical rainforest habitat. Just like the human fingerprint, tiger stripes are unique to each individual tiger. Addax, also known as the white antelope, have long twisted horns with the colour of their coat depending on the season. They are well adapted to exist in desert habitats as they can live without water for long periods of time. At the Waterhole Cafe about 2 kilometres into the circuit, we came across Barbary sheep. Barbary sheep are the only wild sheep that live in Africa. To hide from predators, they rely on camouflage in amongst the rocky hills, mountains and stony plains. The greater one-horned rhino or Indian rhino is primarily found in northeast India and Nepal. It has a single horn which is made from keratin, the same as human fingernails. In the otter enclosure, the otters seem to be in fast forward as it was hard to keep track of them in their enclosure. The banteng are wild cattle that are rare in the dense forests and bamboo jungles of Southeast Asia. In the next enclosure were the black buck or Indian antelope that are native to India and Nepal. They have long corkscrew horns with white fur on their chin, ears, tail and around the eyes in sharp contrast with the black stripes on the face. We continued on to a shared enclosure with Sahara oryx and Barbary sheep. The oryx is adapted to harsh desert conditions and can survive for months or even years without drinking water. A grazing animal, it derives most of its daily moisture intake from plants. In the next enclosure were Powolsky's horses, or takai, that are Mongolian wild horses native to the steppes of Central Asia and are a rare and endangered species of horse. Tasmanian devils are a carnivorous marsupial mainly found in Tasmania. About the size of a small dog, it is related to quolls. In the Australian enclosure, we saw koalas, echidnas, wallabies and quokkas, as well as emus. African lions are very sociable and are the only big cats that regularly live in family groups called prides. The ostrich is the largest and heaviest living bird. Their feathers are not rigid or held together by small hooks, making them soft and wispy. Males can weigh up to 150 kilograms. Their long, stout legs allow them to range over vast distances and can also deliver a powerful kick. Persian onagers are the fastest member of the horse family and can sustain sustain a 50 km/h pace with short bursts of up to 70 km/h. The island enclosure had black and white ruffed lemurs, spider monkeys, ringtail lemurs and white-handed baboons. Black and white ruffed lemurs have a wide range of calls, but we mostly heard their raucous territorial calls which echoed across the zoo. The white-handed gibbons started their spectacular call, initiated by the female and ending by the male. Their singing reinforces their lifelong bond to each other and alerts others to their location. Rick and I had a wonderful day at the zoo, though my feet were tired from all the walking I had done. There were so many amazing animals to see. It was certainly a worthwhile experience. We leave Dubbo and make our way back along the Mitchell Highway through Narromine, Trangie and Nevertire to Nyngan, where we make camp at the Bogan River Upper Weir. Nyngan is situated on the Mitchell Highway astride the tranquil Bogan River on the eastern edge of the Great Outback and is the start of the Barrier Highway which runs west to Cobar. Nyngan is in the Bogan Shire, which has an area of 14,610 square kilometres, and the geographical centre of New South Wales lies within the Shire's boundaries. The historic Cobar route ran through Nyngan, transporting mail and passengers between remote outback towns in the 1800s. There were many captivating artefacts and displays in the museum, along with information about the 1835 journey explorer Major Thomas Mitchell took to reach the Bogan River, and the important role the railway has played in Nyngan's history. Wool, wheat and cattle are central to the local economy in what is a very productive pastoral and agricultural shire. In 1990, the town was devastated when the Bogan River burst its banks and spread across the low flat plains, and in the summer of 2012 and 2013, the temperature broke local records when it reached 47 degrees. An Iroquois helicopter was presented to the people of Nyngan on the 4th of April 1992 to commemorate the evacuation of Nyngan, which occurred on the 23rd of April 1990, when Nyngan was engulfed by floodwaters from the Bogan River, despite the superhuman effort by the town people to maintain the levee bank. Almost the whole population of 2,500 people were airlifted to safety by helicopter. Nyngan had the distinction of being the only town in the world to have been totally evacuated this way. The slang term bogan originated from the Aussie larrikin and ochre, and the big bogan represents the relaxed lifestyle on the river, and where better to have the big bogan than near the Bogan River. An Army Iroquois helicopter that was a gift from the Australian government to the people of Nyngan stands outside the museum in Railway Square. A new levee, 1 metre higher than the 1990 flood level, now protects the town and its people. The Barrier Highway A32, named for the Barrier Ranges, an area of relatively high ground in the far west of New South Wales, is the main highway that links Sydney to the west of New South Wales and on into South Australia. The section of the Barrier Highway we were on traversed from Nyngan to Cobar. There is so much to like about this highway: the breathtaking views, the straight sections of road that continued all the way to the horizon, the undulating hills and long flood sections, even the way the earth changed colour from brown to orange and red. It was such an interesting trip. Cobar is at the crossroads of the Barrier Highway and Kidman Way and is known as the Copper City. It is a fascinating town, rich in mining heritage, as for over 100 years mining has driven the economy of the town. It is one of those deceptive country towns which, on the surface, just looks like any one of the 100 rural service centres, But dig a little deeper and you will find an amazing and resilient community. Once we had unhitched the caravan, we drove out to Fort Burke Lookout and the new Cobar open cut mine located in Hillston Road, south of town. From the lookout we had an excellent view of the town and the deep open cut pit of the new Cobar mine. The mine is a working mine and it was fascinating to see the huge trucks making their way up from the 150 metre deep hole. We also had views of the filtration plant, which is vital to the survival of the town. In 1966, a 130 kilometre long pipeline was built from Nyngan to Cobar to provide the town with a reliable supply of water. Prior to that, Cobar battled to sustain itself with water, with the only water available was from the old reservoir that was built in the 1880s. Back in town, we visited the Information Centre, where we obtained a self-guided heritage walk map that listed 41 of the town's historic buildings, including several from the Victorian and Edwardian eras, as well as early miners' cottages. From the Information Centre, we walked into town past the Great Cobar open-cut copper mine, which was excavated between 1870 and 1920, mostly using pick and shovel and horse and dray, and on through Drummond Park, which was named after the founder of the Royal Far West Children's Health Scheme. From there, we walked past a series of historic private and public buildings in Frederick, Burke and Murray Streets. In Barton Street, the Cobar Courthouse is a fine example of a late Victorian free classical style public building built in 1887, which reflected the prosperity of the town at the time. In the main street, we walked past one of the most prominent buildings in town, the huge Great Western Hotel built in 1898. The pub's timber veranda with cast iron balustrades and a lacework balcony is 100 metres long, and as such is reputedly the longest cast iron veranda and balcony in Australia. Once back at the car, we drove up to the railway station. It was an interesting afternoon spent checking out the historical buildings around Cobar. I hope you have enjoyed watching the photographs I have put together to remind Rick and I of some of the places we have seen and explored. Join us next time as we continue our journey to Mount Hope and on to Lake Cajaligo. Cheers for now, Rick and Rosemary, R&R, Living Life.